hunger is closely linked to poverty, and poverty can lead to hunger. So addressing one can have a positive impact on the other. Let me take this opportunity and not waste time to say we have the speakers in front of us. I will also want to introduce my co-moderator, Dr. Renier, Koegelenberg. We will be working together. We will try and make sure that we share the space because he has a good research that he has done on fighting hunger. At some point, I would want him to come and advise us, especially on the recommendations that he has made in his research on fighting poverty. I would love to start by calling the first person that will give us a brief. I don't know why there are no titles to our people. I don't know who's a doctor, who's a prophet. I don't want to. I know people with titles. They can fight you.
He's from part.
Okay, our first speaker would be Khushwant Singh. I am not sure I have pronounced that, but I have some few dollars in my pocket. I'll pay for it.
Prophets don't need money, thank you.
He is the head of Secretariat International Partnership on Religion and Sustainable Development part from Germany. Sir, I would want you to take this opportunity. Just give us what you have for us.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's a bit of pressure on me now because I need to speak as a prophet, but okay. I put that turban aside and I'm now speaking as the head of Secretariat of the International Partnership on Religion and Sustainable Development. Before I give you a very brief introduction into the partnership so that you may understand in which context I'm speaking, and I'm also very happy that we have distinguished colleagues here on the panel, but also Andrea Kaufmann, a colleague of mine from our partnership. I want to say a few words which are related to what has been said in the plenary in the morning, because I think that's very important. We don't have a crisis of hunger, but we have a crisis of the wrong values and a lack of ethics. I think that has become very clear in the morning. And if everyone who is working in the field of food or even in the field of environmental protection wants to achieve a sustainable result, we need to go back and look at the root cause. And the root cause is that our attitude, our worldviews are kind of, I would even use the word, corrupted. So if we just look at the structural issues, at policies, I don't think we will ever solve any problem. Of course, both need to go hand in hand, and that's why I think we have come together to bring the realm of spirituality, religion, and policy together under one turban. We don't need too many statistics, but one statistic I want to share, and that is that around 10% of the global population is living in poverty, people who are hungry on a daily basis. 10%. Just think about it, 10%. It's unbelievable. It has become very clear also in the morning that we have more than enough resources to feed everyone. And I remember the very vivid introduction of Espen, who said that on the same land, they are producing way more food than 20, 30, 40, 50 years back. So there are ways to be more efficient. I also think it was very important what Bishop Sipuka said in the morning. God works with us and through us. So we don't need to be very moral about things, we just need to do what we need to do. In our tradition we call it Jo Hari Lode So Kare Suji Karan. In simple terms, it's very poetic and very spiritual, but since I'm not a prophet, I'm just giving you a very bad translation, which means just do what's necessary, but don't go beyond. So this is, I think, a very powerful reminder. We, in our little realm, can do what is needed to bring the change that we want to see in the world. Coming back to PART, the very idea of PART, the international partnership, by the way, we collaborated with the IF20 colleagues last year in Brazil, so we were one of the cooperation partners to implement this forum. The idea of PART is that we bring, of course, religious actors together with academic institutions, but also we have multilaterals on board and government members. So for instance, the German government, who is the main funder of our partnership, is a founding member of this partnership. The Indonesian government is on board, the Danish government is on board, the British government is on board, the US government is on board, but since USAID, who were representing the US government, I cannot say if they are still on board or not, but we will figure out hopefully in 3 years. So the whole idea is to have a structured long-term dialogue to showcase good contributions of religious actors to the Sustainable Development Goals. That's one part of the story. But the second part of the story is to create a conducive environment where religious actors don't feel shy to directly talk with government people, decision makers, and bring forward ideas which also change policy. I'm not saying that we are super successful, it's difficult, but at least we have created a forum since 2016 where you can have a structured, very respectful dialogue amongst these very different entities. So I invite everyone who is not part of this membership, of this partnership, to become a member. You don't need a suitcase full of money, it's free of cost, but of course if you have a suitcase full of money, we will not tell you to go back home, but you are invited to join this partnership. In terms of hunger, and then I will finish because you have a lot to say too. In terms of hunger, we have set a focus topic on hunger and food security last year because we felt that at a global level, this topic is underrepresented. And the other fact is that religious organizations particularly work on this issue, and I will not repeat all the arguments that have been put forward in the morning. An important step for us was that we have become a member of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty this year. And there are not many religious organizations or institutions part of this global initiative. So I think this in itself is an important first step into the right direction. The other thing is that religious organizations and actors are experts in localization. We cannot implement policies at a global level without neglecting the good networks, the resources, the many, many volunteers who are contributing at various levels, but also to food security, if we want to be successful. So the whole idea, again, is to include religious actors, but also indigenous actors into the global conversation of reaching the SDGs, which we all know we will not reach. You know that we are by 12% roughly in terms of reaching that goal. For the moment, I think that's enough. I can delve deeper into further questions, and I'm getting just a yellow card that 1 minute is left, so I will finish without getting a red card. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think from what he has just presented and linking it to the presentations that were made before, we were all asked a question: what are we bringing on the table? But it is clear from his presentation that his organization has decided to steer the dialogues, the discussions, the collaborations. And surely with these collaborations and dialogues, they'll be able to bring something on the table. I would love to move to the next presenter, Pastor Jan Pretorius. Pastor John Pretorius is the head of operations, Mahlasedi Foundation. He's also head of operations South African Community of Faith-Based Fraternals and Federations of South Africa. It's called SACOF. I would want you to address the issues like he did. We have the responsibility in this session to highlight the national and faith commitments under the Global Alliance Against Hunger.
Yes.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pheto. Thank you to our moderators and also the panelists. Yes, I think for us, as a player and a faith-based NGO from the Christian community, which is Mahlasedi, and also our mobilized faith-based fraternals and federations, which is SACOF. For us, of course, the macroeconomic policies that was mentioned by Prophet Singh next to me, for us, we don't really have any influence over those talks. We would love to get involved because we do have, of course, our thinking around that. We've been busy for the last 33 years in food security and also in disaster management. And for us, the experience that we've gained over the last 33 years with our founders starting the organization, as Dr. Pheto said, on their own stove, feeding in schools that were left devastated by malnutrition through the apartheid system in places like Vosloorus and Paula Park, and that was in the late 90s and the late 80s and early 90s. And for us as Mahlasedi, being in this sphere, we understand that hunger is not just a symptom, but it's truly a driver of many of the socio-economic problems that we have, dignity, even crime. We've seen this even in COVID when we were able to feed complete communities. We would do a whole community in Olivenhout-Bosch for 30 to 35,000 households. The station commander gave us stats where petty crimes decreased for 2 months completely. These are the experiences that we've seen. And that food relief is truly a bridge to restore this dignity and enabling children to stay in schools. It enables mothers and fathers to go and get educated and build greater and better lives. Without this food relief, the first thing that, of course, is on their mind is how to feed their families. So for us, as an approach, and what we can just from our lived experience share to this dialogue, is that mobilized faith communities, as my colleague said here next to me, is networks that are extremely, extremely powerfully available to reach communities that others cannot because of the location in the most rural parts, the volunteers, the trusted relationships. Also, we have learned how to integrate also health, education, and skills development with the supply of food. But anybody that has ever been involved in food security knows that a food parcel or a food soup kitchen or feeding is not a sustainable model. It's absolutely not sustainable. And what we've done in the last 10 years is also to purchase a farm to develop a model by which subsistence farmers are developed around townships. The model that there is at the moment is that there would be a bakkie that will drive from the township to a marketplace. And there, that marketplace, they will fill it up and then it will come back. And from there, it will go on trolleys, it will go through, and all these bells would ring. And they would buy the vegetables and nutritional food, but it would be 500 or 600% more than a person that is well off would pay, it is a warped model. So we've been developing value chain research and experts in developing hub models where we create fruit and veg models that will be in the townships where the subsistence and light commercial developed young black farmers could supply these little hubs that will be like a secondary market where nutritional food can be bought at the same value, and that the value unlocking of the value chain will not then go to the big corporates, but it will go into the townships, it will go into the people paying the price. It's just logic that somebody that has a 50 rand will rather pay an amount for maize that is much more weight and food than for 3 or 4 tomatoes. And that's why in the schools, we even developed nutritional programs where we would feed in a school, take the BMI of these kids and see that the extremely malnourished kids, it's got such an effect on their educational development. It's tremendous. We just don't understand how hunger affects communities other than with what we think. So we're really involved in empowering the ecosystem around the townships that we are involved in. So for us, I'm going to leave it at that. There's a lot that I can say in learned experience, but we have to understand that as faith-based organizations, interfaith, that it's an integral national and global network that must be used in the strategy. They must be involved. But I do see, and in what we've seen in the last 33 years, is that there should be food production ecosystems built around the poorest of the poor communities. And that's what we've been doing. And long-term agricultural entrepreneurship that will bring entrepreneurship, it will bring subsistence, farming, and also where people really show a lot of promise. We've seen young black farmers rise up from these programs and really become great farmers on farms of 1 to 2 hectares, and then later on 5 to 10 hectares. So that is what we as Mahlasedi are doing through our commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jan. We have heard from the presentations that food security is dignity. We have also heard that hunger is human-made, and so are the solutions to alleviating hunger. Let me give Andre Kaufman, the Director of Faith and External Engagements, World Vision International, to give us a picture of what they have seen when they are going around the globe in as far as fighting hunger and poverty are concerned. And perhaps that would give us an idea of how, as a group, we can agree and take a decision to stop hunger today.
Thank you. I want to just pick up a little bit on the point about we're a child-focused organization, and I think when we think about hunger and nutrition and children, there is a really unique challenge and opportunity and call to action for us, because especially between 1 and 5, also adolescent girls, but really all children, if they are not getting the proper nutrition, if they're not getting enough calories, it has lifelong implications. Pastor Jan talked about in the current, their ability to perform in the classroom. It affects their learning for life. It affects their future work, their future income. There's a lot of research on it. And so as we think about the many children who are going to bed hungry, I think it's a particular call, I think, for us to consider. And I'm really going to focus on, I mentioned in the session this morning, these faith community-led nutrition dialogues that we've had globally. We have lots of programming, but I think this gives us a very specific insight into that unique collaboration and the unique and essential role that local faith actors are already playing, and the unique perspective even that local faith communities have on the issue of hunger and nutrition. So we did nutrition dialogues with all kinds of communities with children, and so I'm going to call it what I see as actually the distinctions and the interesting things that came out specifically from the faith community-led dialogues. One was that they discreetly and particularly identified spiritual and faith-related root causes and assets. So that included things like that might show up in other reports, but they would be kind of like couched and confusingly worded. But the faith communities were very quick to say this is a food taboo rooted in this belief. This particular population doesn't take their children when they're experiencing signs of malnutrition to health facilities for X, Y, and Z reason. And they also really called out the assets. They talked about the power of prayer and the way that drove their community to action. They talked about tithing, zakat, all kinds of religious practices that actually had a direct and concrete influence on children who are experiencing hunger. Another really, I think, important aspect that it came out in many places, but the whole idea of a system, that faith communities see themselves as one part of a complex food system, and understanding that maybe they have a particular role, other people have a particular role, and in order for things to really work effectively, we need more effective conversations and collaborations, which I think links to what Khushwant was saying about the importance of and that PARD can bringing multilateral and donors and governments and faith actors together to talk about what's the role that each of us are playing to solve this problem. How are we also part of the problem? How do we get out of the way and let others do things that they're more equipped to do? And then another thing that emerged in these faith community-led dialogues was there wasn't the kind of push of the questions was towards advocacy, towards asking policymakers, decision makers at the Nutrition for Growth conference and other big global conferences, like what should they do? But faith communities, of course, also gave themselves really long to-do lists. They, without being asked, made a lot of commitments about the actions that they were going to take to ensure that communities were supported. Everything from reducing food waste at their own events to increasing nutrition education in their Sunday schools, to really sustainable agriculture, things that we've heard mentioned. So I think faith communities are acting, we all know, and I think can really be an important part of the system, and we have an opportunity to bring them closer into the system. Just a few opportunities kind of when we think about the global level and ways to engage. The World Vision and a number of organizations host a weekend of prayer and action, and we're really encouraging people to think, is there an opportunity in your own community in October to host a weekend of prayer and action with other faith communities? Again, prayer and action. How do we take our prayers and respond with really concrete ways? If you're interested, see me, look on the website. There's a lot of opportunities. Also, I think with PARD, we are continuing to learn how we can collaborate more effectively together. So it's just a couple of opportunities as we go forward from here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We heard from the presentations that were made that perhaps it would be important for all of us to participate in sustainable food systems. And it was also categorized that there is a need for partnerships between government and civil society as a strategy. There was also a strategy that says business people should come to the party, they should invest, they should be willing to invest on food security and sustainability of livelihoods. And another point was made to say, no, all of us, we have the responsibility. We have the responsibility to make sure that we reclaim our dignity and produce food. We should not only be consumers, but we must be producers of food. And another angle said, yes, but there are religious leaders, there are faith leaders who also have the responsibility to educate. And it was said we must shift from independency to empowerment, which means religious and faith leaders have a responsibility to educate their communities to make sure that they don't only become consumers but producers of food. In that way, we will alleviate poverty. We will fight hunger. At this point, I want to call upon Sir Juanza Mwangani, project manager from Diocese of Monze, Zambia, just to stress on the strategies and still stick on the point. What can we do to alleviate poverty? How can we fight poverty? Over to you, sister.
Thank you. I am not going to give you something that I'm imagining on how we are going to fight hunger, but I'm going to share what we are actually doing to fight hunger in our own way. So from the discussions this morning, we kept saying, who is actually doing? We are all discussing, but I'm coming from the doing side of those who are fighting hunger. And I work with the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation and working with the women. So what we are doing is that we are practicing agriculture and entrepreneurship at household level with the women. And you're going to ask me why. We are doing this in their own space and with their own resources. And you ask, but why at household level? Because that's where the vulnerable are. That's where the hungry children are. And that's where meals are shared. That's where hunger is felt. And I would like to say that that's where dignity is restored. If we are to talk about where food security or insecurity is felt, it is at household level. It is at that place where priorities are set. If we have this little bit of money, are we going to use it to buy food? Are we going to send a child to school? Then the line between poverty and hunger is drawn. If we are going to fight hunger, it means that if we don't fight the hunger, we are not going to address poverty. Because as a mother, I wouldn't prioritize education over a child who is hungry anyway. They won't go to school, even if I were to spare money for them. But if they are hungry, they won't go to school. So it means that poverty will stay with us because we were kept hungry. So we have to fight hunger first so that we are able to address the issues of poverty. Why women? It is because they are the custodians of change. They are the homemakers. I'm not saying anything about anyone else. I'm just talking about women. They are the member minders. They will mind every member in their household. Have they eaten? Have they gone to school? Are they dressed or what? This is where poverty is going to be addressed, but first by fighting hunger. Our approach is that we are using integrated farming as a way of making them climate resilient. What do I mean by integrated farming? We want the women to have both livestock and be involved in crop production. Because we know that when there's crop failure, at least the livestock might just thrive. So once somebody who has livestock is able to sell what they have, and they'll be able to buy their food from the little that they have. We have used this together with entrepreneurship so that they don't just grow agricultural produce for feeding, but also to earn some income so that they are able to send their children to school, to buy what they need in their home, to just improve the status of that particular home. And we have tried to bring entrepreneurship down to what a woman in the village can understand and do on her own. We are using eco-friendly agriculture, one that where somebody has livestock and has gone into crop production, then they have manure being produced right there, and they have the crops. We are trying by all means to support indigenous seeds and so on, so that they are resilient and can adapt to their own climate, to their own soil types. I want to share the reality on the ground. Climate change is real, seen by unpredictable rain patterns that disturb the farmer and affect their produce. Inequalities are real. Do they all have the land? Do they all have everything that they need? And the possible solution is availability of water. You can't talk about agriculture when there's no water. How are we going to provide them with water so that we ensure all-year production of food? And we are talking about irrigation systems that will be favorable to an ordinary woman in the village who is just looking after her household, and to have a bit more to sell so that they earn some income. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sister. Elder Donaldson Silva, we have heard and we have been promised by the speakers who came before us. They said to us, let's see each other the way God sees us. Now, I know from the side of the church has done so many projects in trying to alleviate poverty. And I would want to maybe open our eyes to those opportunities that we were not aware of. Just help us, coming from different religious communities, from different faiths. Just give us a picture of how a religious society or a church organization, if it is willing, can alleviate poverty and fight hunger. I trust you. I know you will do that.
Thank you. Thank you for the responsibility. So it's a privilege to be here with you. We have learned so much since this morning. And I'd like to share experience that I have learned through the historic gospel of Jesus Christ. How God sees us. He sees us as his children. What does that mean? We are not orphans. We can pray every night, every morning, and talk to our Father. We are not alone. We are not forsaken. And because he is our Father, this means that we are all brothers and sisters. And we need to care of each other. We can care, and sometimes we say, fight against hunger. And every time I think about this topic, I think about children. There are so many simple ways that we can identify small movements of how is the child nutrition. Let me give you an example. Last year, we as an organization, we selected 3 countries to start a pilot: Madagascar, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, on child nutrition. We, in order to identify the stage of nutrition of each children, we use just 2 tools: a metric tape and a scale. By measuring the height, the arms, the chest, and checking the weight, we, in minutes, could identify if that child was missing the right nutrition. And we open our meeting house not only for the members of the church, we opened for the whole community that will participate in that pilot. And they came. And the idea was to teach the mother how they could do that at home. And once identified the need, the church provided the resource, the ingredients through a cocktail that could supplement the missing vitamins. So we did not spend millions and millions of money to identify the problem, because without identifying the problem, we will not fix any problem. What causes hunger? What's hunger? I like the definition from the World Food Program. Hunger is, they define hunger as a discomfort or pain caused by a lack of food. Another experience that we had, I had the opportunity and privilege to go to handover on projects that involve food garden. Food garden is a very simple way to eliminate the hunger. Basically, we needed three things. Water, for sure. A piece of land that can be a backyard, right? And the hands to work on it. How to have water if there is no system available, no rain, sometimes drought? By building the boreholes, we provide the pump. The pump will pull the water. With the water, we can have crops. Sometimes people do not have money to buy the seeds. We donate the seeds. They do not have money to start to have chicken. We donate the chicken. They start cultivating. They start taking care of the chicken. Suddenly, they have the crop. They have the eggs. They can, in community, using their own piece of land that they have in the backyard, they have food. The hunger is over. Very simple steps. The problem that we have learned is that following the principle of self-reliance that we believe and we know that we can change the life of any individual, family, community, or country, is that we cannot be satisfied on only doing that or present that solution as the final. No, this is the beginning. We need to see that a child that is suffering of bad nutrition, by acquiring the right nutrition, we need to see them at school. And after school, doing the primary, the junior school, and then the secondary school, and then the university. They will change their lives and the life of their posterity. Because education changes everything. Education changes everything. Second, through the food garden, we are starting to promote, to give that community a sense of we can make by ourselves. We do not need to rely on anybody, any institution. Because now we have water, now we have our chicken, now we have our crop. And we can sell those pieces that exceed to make money to ourselves. So what I presented here were small solutions to big problems, but that make all the difference and is doable. It's a dream that can become true. I believe that hunger can be overcome when we extend our hand. But our hand does not need to be there forever. As children of God, we have the divine potential to do for ourselves what nobody can do, because only myself know my needs. And because I know my needs and I trust in God, I can make all the difference with my own life. And by learning that, I can make the difference in the life of my family, and I will make the difference in the life of my community, and I will make the difference for my whole posterity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elder Danielson Silva. Indeed, Ubuntu is in action. When we listen to the presentations here, we are able to be witnesses, even though we haven't seen with our own eyes. But what we are told here is a testimony that something is being done. There are institutions, there are organizations that have put their hands on deck. They are busy working. Now, it is up to those of us who have not started, because we have the huge elephant here, hunger and poverty. We need to kill this elephant. At this point, I would like to invite to the podium my co-moderator, Dr. Renier. I'm calling him specifically not to come and make a presentation, but because he has done a study on the role of interreligious actors in addressing hunger and poverty. I would not want to squeeze him and just put him to a level of just being a moderator when I know that he has done a lot of work on this topic alone. So, Doc, I would like to call you, just give us a brief. Why are people dying of hunger globally? And what needs to be done?
I want to start by just making a note. All the presentations, and some of you have prepared larger presentations on the website. So I'm not going to summarize what you've said. I just want to observe, some of you work in large international networks where you focus on policy issues, and that needs to be done. Some of you work in the field where really right at the grassroots level where you make a difference. These things, there's an interaction. We don't have all the same function, but together we have an enormous impact. Sometimes not in the short term. The way we measure impact is not in a week. That young man that spoke here this morning, brilliantly, that young school child, we designed a course for youth leaders 30 years ago together with the business school of Stellenbosch University. And I was telling him that we were challenged as churches to help the junior town council of the city of Cape Town. That was 30 years ago. And we've been using that course to train people and activists and church leaders and NGOs in many areas in South Africa since that time. So we build on one another. We have different functions. If your heart is in what you're doing and you believe what you do, you will find where you, at the place where you are situated, to make a difference there. So, Dr. Pheto, I'm not going to make a speech. My paper is in the cloud on the system. All I want to say, we should not be discouraged by short-term measurements. Impact is a funny thing. I can give you, and you know many examples. And we can't see the road exactly how it works. But what I can say, if we work as a team together, we sometimes open doors where we have never imagined that there are doors. And we simply have to try our best. And it's a commitment. So I'm going to disappoint you now, but I'm not going to give a lecture. I just want to say there are many good stories here and many different target groups. All of you specialize in what you're doing. Just keep on doing that and share it. Let we learn from one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to open a discussion for delegates. I know people chose to come to this session because they are either interested or it's because they are working on projects that they would want to share their experiences with us. We still have time. The timekeeper just indicated that they still have time. So if you have any question for clarity from the presentations that were made,
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but listening to all these stories, I just wanted to invite you, but also the other ones who are gonna ask a question, but also if you want to present a concrete example, as you did very vividly, also you, I want to invite you to send your good examples to us because we have a knowledge center on our website, and you don't even need to be a member, but if you have impact stories, then please share them, because one of our mission is to showcase good examples, as I said in the very beginning. And if you look at the TV and media, very often you have bad news about religion, right? But if we create something great, very rarely the media catches these things and says, oh, there's a great impact done by religious actors. But if there's a scandal, it's all over the media. So we need to become better in showcasing evidence. We are very good at being moral, and me personally, I cannot hear anymore the word, yeah, but the private sector and politicians should do this, they must do this. That will not change anything, but if you show impact to politicians, to decision makers, and we are speaking with political decision makers all the time, they don't want moral speech, but what they want is, this is what we did, that was the problem, and this is the outcome. And as you said very nicely, you don't need always a lot of money. So that's why my invitation again, don't be shy, don't think that, oh, it's a very local example. No, just send it to us and we are very happy to highlight it at a global level. Sorry to interrupt.
no, thank you so much. I can see there's a hand here. Can you please provide a mic? And there's another one at the back. You are noted, ma'am.
Coming closer, right? Thank you so very much. First of all, I want to say thank you to all our panelists and the moderator for the great submission. Mine is call to action as well as a suggestion. As much as I'm in the media, I'm not talking about media today. I represent an organization called One Map Africa. Our head office is in Ghana. We have 32 chapters. One of the mandate of what we do is to capacitate and to empower farmers in agriculture. My comment is that what we have learned from COVID is that one should have critical thinking, but one should also collaborate. But collaborate is only great when it's intentional. So I'm calling everyone that is here that join One Map Africa. We have 32 chapters across Africa, and every day you need a farmer. Once in a while you need a doctor. So let's all come together and work together. So I'm here after this panel, and I would like to engage and see how we can collaborate. And lastly, we also have the carbon climate finance event coming up next year, so I'll also share that with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. There was a hand at the back.
All right, thank you. My name is Chilufia, and I work for the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. I just wanted to congratulate all of you for the different things you are doing, and to appreciate the standard that's being set by communities of faith as you have done in many other sectors. Just to contribute to the whole point about solutions that are possible, that don't have to cost a lot of money, and I guess also the last point about collaboration and connecting up, because we are constantly interested in what's happening to food systems and not thinking about solutions in isolation of the bigger picture. What do I mean? So I think, Sister Junza, you were talking about working with communities at the household level, responding to the needs of children in that setting. And I've met many other people that are working in the school settings. And that's another intervention that's had tremendous impact on nutrition of children, school meals. But to be consistent with those, you also need people that are working with smallholder farmers that produce that food, that enable that the school gardens can be supported and equipped. And I think that's really the challenge here, about connecting those things. So I think what you are describing about having a bank is precisely in the spirit of what the Global Alliance is trying to do at the level of countries. How do you get a policy, what are they calling it? A policy bank? I forgot. They're calling it, they're policy sprints, but they're also calling, yes, the policy basket, so that there's a way of understanding what works in different countries and how do countries replicate those things. And I'm hearing you say, let's get a bank of all the things that work at community level as well, have them in a basket so that people have the ability to choose from them, connect across the different initiatives so that we can come up with something bigger. So I just wanted to point that out as really the direction in which we should be going, and that challenge to us all. Thanks.
There's another hand at the far back. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Usha and I'm from the Brahma Kumaris. I just wanted to give one example. There's many big kitchens that cook bulk in India. And amongst that, we have in the Brahma Kumaris a kitchen that quietly cooks 50,000 meals daily without a single unit of LPG gas or electricity, because they're using mirrors to harvest solar energy, and then they're creating steel turbines where they store the energy, and they're using thermal energy to cook. And so it's the cleanest way to cook healthy food. And so that's one thing, and I'm really thinking that Africa is really a place that has so much of solar energy. And what is interesting is that this solar plant in India was, the work was done by the local Indian people with the help of the German government and the Indian government. They kind of supported to finance it, but use the local labor. And it becomes one of the largest places that can actually feed on this level. And then another thing that, because Brahma Kumaris teaches meditation and mindfulness, I think we all have the experience that when we look after our plants with good energy, they grow better. And so experimentation was done in fields where people actually first give good energy to the seeds before they plant it, give good energy to the water that is used to fertilize, to water the plants, and then go in the field and actually could give energy. And the products that were eventually harvested from these fields, and these exist in our headquarters in Mount Abu. They call it yogic farmings. There are many other places in India where they do this. There's also an example of this in Mauritius, and there are some places they are starting it. So I just wanted to say how this spiritual energy which we carry, if we as faith people use that more, it even multiplies the harvest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There was another hand. Can you please bring the mic to the front?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is James Elman. I'm with an organization called Faith, Hope, Love Communities. and we work locally in the township of Elsies River and Delft. So we've got a big need to satisfy immediately of people that we need to feed. And that is what we are doing. So our members come together, and our members is made of an interfaith community. So in our community, we've got Muslims, we've got Christians, we've got the Khoisan community, we've got the Rastafarian community, and we've got Buddhist community. And together we work to feed our people. And it's something that's very necessary in our community. I know that, who was it now? Pastor Jan Pretorius was saying that this is not really sustainable. It becomes very difficult, but then also we work with the larger community in Cape Town, the interfaith community, who also assists us. So what happens is, during the Lenten times and during the fast times of the Muslim community or the Hindu community, they would donate towards the cause that we are giving food to the people. But what we do is we do work in schools where we teach people values. What we do also do is we have peace walks where we teach people about the environment, and we expose them to the various communities, the various faith communities. And I think, Andrea, you were saying that something for prayer from the faith communities. That is one of the things that we do. We do interfaith prayers together with the various different faith communities, and that is something that maybe we could talk about, that we could get the community of Cape Town specifically to have interfaith prayers for the alleviation of poverty and hunger. And then, yeah, what our brother, the Prophet Singh, yeah, we would like to be part of what you are doing, because I think it's important that we continuously network. And that is how we can actually do our work. Because in our community, what we have is, we also have other organizations, NGOs, or registered or not registered, just ladies that come together, or a group of people that come together, and they also supply food. So in our community, we used to do it on a Monday, and then because we found that already there's somebody giving food on a Monday, we moved to a Wednesday, so that every day a different group, so that we don't have one group giving food, and then the people run to another group on the same day, and then the next day there's no food. So we've learned to work together, and if we receive a donation, whatever is left over we give to the other group, so that they can maybe add it to the food that they are distributing the next day. So the networking becomes very important. So that's what we would like to do, to network with some of the members who are here, because some of the ideas are great, especially the cooking with mirrors from the Brahma Kumaris group. We would like to learn about those things as well. Thank you very much.
Any other comment, question? There are two hands. I think there will be the last two hands. I'm told we are left with only 3 minutes, but let's shoot, Pap.
No, thank you so much.
Yes.
I don't have a question, but simply a comment. When you hear in our midst, there are those who are reaching about 20 people, there are those who are reaching hundreds, there are those who are reaching thousands. But the reality is that the documentation and the sharing for someone who wants to reach 20 to say, I can learn from this, even in the same country. It can be even the same district, county, or province, whatever the demarcations in the various countries, the local governments. How do we deal with this? Because these are practical experiences in real practice of agriculture, in policy engagement. I think there is a need around that in this interfaith forum. It may not be only this forum, but for us to document so that these practical experiences, their reach is expanded. Thank you.
Thank you. The last hand at the back.
Thank you. I am Isaac Morrison. I'm from Ghana. I love what you're talking about, and the thoughts that have come from the panel is very impressive. I am with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I just want to share thoughts based on what this good sister said. There are many things we can do when we are talking about poverty and fighting hunger. In my country, Ghana, as I've seen in many African countries, we have a lot of children in the streets. They are selling, they are doing all kinds of dangerous things just to survive. Now, one of the things that we are doing in West Africa, perhaps if all of us can do little in our areas or countries would help, is trying to get these children out of the streets so they can have a good future for themselves. We saw the young man who spoke to us this morning. He has a good future. How do we get that for all of our younger ones to know that there's a brighter hope? This is what we are doing. We call something succeed in school. So we have many of the children go to regular schools, some even go to school under trees and all that. And then when school is over, by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, they are in the streets trying to find something. Now we gather most of these children and bring them to our church meeting house, whereby there will be extra tuition for them for writing, for reading, for life skills, for mathematics, for exams preparation, so that they can have, they'll be comfortable and know that there is future for them. Now, this is just making so much impact. Over the last few years, we have had over 30,000 students go through. The success rate is incredible. They are passing their exams, they are having greater future, and we also feed them when they come. And so we are trying to let them know that, no, going to the street is not the way for me, but rather I can come and get more education and still also go home with lunch or dinner. I think that we need to be thinking about some of these things in helping our youth realize that, hey, we can have a better hope if we get the right education, if we are focused, we will be able to, do good things and God will help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have come to the end of our session, but before we leave, let me thank you for being such a good audience. I am sure we have had enough inputs that we need to compile and give to the organizers of this. But moreover, thank you very much to our presenters. I think you have opened our eyes with the projects and the programs that you run in your own space. You know, it was a blessing that we came here to this conference, in this session, because when we go out of that door, we are now different people. We are learned people. Our hopes are high. We have an opportunity now. We can network with PART. We can network with people with resources, with the big tanks. Our hopes are high. But before I go any further, let me give to my co-moderator. But from me, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I just have an announcement on the program for tomorrow. After lunch tomorrow, there's a 1-hour break between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. For those of you that are interested to be part of the team that are packaging food for ECD centers and children, it's going to happen at 3 o'clock. So after lunch tomorrow, you have time to dress you differently if you want to. And there will be people guiding you where these food parcels will be delivered. So with my co-chair, thank you so much for everything you're doing. And in between, we can share notes or share it virtually in more studies. What I've learned in my own work is that food gives you access to many other issues. It becomes an instrument of leverage to get to problems at home, whether substance abuse or violence or whatever. If you focus on food, you reach many other problems and give people hope. And that is what we have to do as faith leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. We will start the B session right at 6 o'clock or 1800, and so then we will be done at 1900 or 7 o'clock. So please realize you'll have about 20, 25 minutes for a quick break, and then we'll come back and realize that, you know, B1 will be here, B2, B3, B4, and then upstairs in the mezzanine is B5 and B6. Thank you. Could you send me the link? And I would love to put it on, if that's possible.